The Zephyrian High Command chamber stretched like a cathedral of crystalline walls, each surface pulsing with bioluminescent displays showing the current state of their galactic empire. Admiral Kethvar stood before the massive tactical hologram, his forearms crossed in contemplation as he studied the glowing points of light that represented their conquered worlds. "Another system has fallen to the Terrans," reported Commander Zis, her voice carrying the typical melodic tones of the Zephyrian race. "The Kepler 442 system. Complete orbital bombardment, no survivors." Kethavar's mandibles clicked in what humans might recognize as a frustrated sigh. For 3 standard cycles, these mysterious Terrans had been systematically destroying Zephyrian colonies along the outer rim. No communication, no demands, no mercy. "What do we know about their technology?" Kethavar asked, though he already knew the answer would disappoint him. "Very little, Admiral. Their ships appear from nowhere, strike with devastating precision, then vanish before our response fleets arrive. Our best scientists believe they possess some form of instantaneous travel technology far beyond our understanding." The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the biocomputers processing endless streams of military data. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled this section of the galaxy for over 1,000 cycles, expanding through careful diplomacy and overwhelming technological superiority. They had never encountered a species that could match their advanced weapons and shielding systems. Until now. "Sir," another officer interrupted, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Nexus Defense Grid." The holographic display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional map of the Nexus system, the crown jewel of Zephyrian civilization. Home to 12 billion souls across 5 planets and countless orbital installations. "What is it?" Kethvar demanded. "Unknown. Contact detected at the edge of the system. Single ship. Profile matches no known Zephyrian or allied vessel." Kethvar's 4 eyes widened. The Terrans had never penetrated this deep into Zephyrian space. The Nexus system was protected by the most advanced defensive network in known space, a web of automated weapons platforms, patrol fleets, and energy barriers that had never been breached. "Size classification?" he asked. "Massive, sir." "Preliminary. Scans suggest it's larger than our Dreadnought-class vessels." A chill ran through the Admiral's spine equivalent. If the Terrans had brought their war to the heart of the Empire, it could only mean one thing. They weren't here for another hit-and-run attack. They were here to end this. Chapter 1. First. Contact Protocol Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the TCS Indomitable, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the alien fleet scramble to intercept her ship. The massive Terran dreadnought hung in space like a predatory beast, its angular hull scarred by countless battles but still radiating deadly purpose. "Tactical report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what they were about to undertake. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, her tactical officer, looked up from his console. 67 enemy vessels moving to intercept, mixture of cruisers, destroyers, and what appeared to be their equivalent of battleships. They're forming a standard defensive perimeter around the inner planets. Sarah nodded. Intelligence had been accurate about Zephyrian fleet doctrine, predictable, methodical, and entirely unprepared for what humanity was about to show them. "Communications," she called to Lieutenant Yu at the comm station. "Any response to our transmission?" "Negative. Captain, they're ignoring our attempts at first contact." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist and diplomatic advisor, stepped forward from her position near the science stations. "Captain, with respect, perhaps we should try a different approach. These beings have been fighting us for months without any understanding of why. If we could just—" "Doctor," Sarah interrupted gently but firmly, "we've tried diplomacy. They glassed New Geneva. They murdered 3 million colonists on Kepler 442 just last week. The time for conversation ended when they decided humanity was something to be exterminated." Elena's face tightened with frustration, but she said nothing more. Sarah understood the doctor's position. As a scientist, she wanted to study and communicate with the first alien intelligence humanity had encountered. But as a military officer, Sarah had seen the aftermath of Zephyrian attacks. There would be time for understanding later after humanity's survival was secured. "Captain," Webb called out. "Enemy fleet is moving into attack formation. ETA 12 minutes. "Good," Sarah replied. "That gives us time to make an impression." She turned to her engineering officer, Chief Warrant Officer Jim Patterson, whose cybernetic arm glinted under the bridge lighting. A souvenir from the battle for New Geneva. "Chief, power up the Armstrong drive. Full resonance cascade." Patterson's weathered face broke into a predatory grin. "Aye, Captain. Initiating exotic matter containment. Drive core coming online." The bridge lights dimmed as massive amounts of power were redirected to humanity's greatest technological achievement, a faster-than-light drive that didn't just bend space-time, but allowed for tactical applications that had revolutionized warfare. "Dr. Vasquez," Sarah said, "I want you to record everything. When this is over, I want a complete xenological profile of their technology, tactics, and responses. If we're going to end this war, we need to understand them." Elena nodded reluctantly, her scientific curiosity overriding her moral objections. "Recording all sensor data and behavioral analysis, Captain." Through the main view screen, they could see the alien fleet approaching, sleek, organic-looking vessels that seemed to flow through space rather than thrust through it. Beautiful, in their own way, but Sarah had learned not to be fooled by alien aesthetics. "Weapons status?" she asked. "All systems green, Captain. Quantum torpedo bays loaded, particle beam arrays charged, and point defense systems online. Shields? Adaptive shielding at maximum efficiency, ready for whatever they throw at us." Sarah took a deep breath. What happened in the next few minutes would determine not just the fate of her ship and crew, but potentially the future relationship between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. If they could demonstrate humanity's technological superiority decisively enough, perhaps the Zephyrians would be willing to negotiate rather than face total annihilation. "All hands, this is the captain," she announced over the ship's communication system. "We are about to engage a superior number of alien vessels in the heart of their empire. We are outnumbered, outgunned by conventional measures, and fighting on their home ground. But we have something they don't. We have the element of surprise, superior technology, and the righteous anger of a species fighting for its survival. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. All hands to battle stations." The klaxons began sounding throughout the ship as 1,500 crew members prepared for what might be the most decisive battle in human history. "Captain," Webb announced, "enemy fleet has achieved weapons lock. They're opening fire." Dozens of energy beams lanced across space toward the Indomitable, followed by volleys of what appeared to be plasma-based projectile weapons. The attacks looked devastating, enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Time to introduce them to human ingenuity. "Chief Patterson, execute Armstrong Protocol 7. "With pleasure, Captain." The space around the Indomitable suddenly twisted, reality bending as the ship's advanced drive created localized space-time distortions. The incoming alien weapons fire struck what appeared to be empty space as the human vessel seemed to flicker in and out of normal dimensional space. On the Zephyrian command ship, Admiral Kethvar watched in stunned disbelief as his fleet's coordinated barrage passed harmlessly through what had been solid enemy ship just moments before. "What just happened?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. The target appears to be phasing in and out of our dimensional space. Our weapons cannot achieve target lock." But before Kethvar could respond, the human ship reappeared, directly in the middle of his formation. Chapter 2. The Art of War. The TCS Indomitable materialized inside the Zephyrian fleet formation like a phantom suddenly taking solid form. Alien ships scattered in all directions, their careful tactical arrangement dissolving into chaos as they tried to avoid collision with the massive human dreadnought. "Now that's what I call a dramatic entrance," Chief Patterson muttered, his hands dancing over the engineering controls as he stabilized their dimensional phase. Captain Chen stepped forward, studying the tactical display that showed alien vessels frantically repositioning around them. They weren't expecting that. Tactical, target their command ship, the large one at the center of their formation. Target acquired, Captain. Quantum torpedoes locked on. Fire. 4 brilliant points of light streaked from the Indomitable's forward torpedo bays, each projectile containing exotic matter that existed in a quantum superposition until the moment of impact. The Zephyrian command ship's shields flared as they attempted to deflect the incoming weapons, but quantum torpedoes weren't designed to be stopped by conventional energy barriers. The first torpedo struck, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality around the impact point began to collapse inward as the exotic matter interacted with normal space-time. The Zephyrian shields didn't just fail, they imploded, creating a cascade effect that rippled across the command ship's hull. Admiral Kethavar felt his ship shudder as emergency klaxons wailed throughout the bridge. Damage report. Forward shields completely offline, sir. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 15. Whatever they hit us with, it's interfering with our repair systems at the quantum level. Before the Admiral could process this information, 3 more quantum torpedoes struck his ship in rapid succession. Each impact created expanding zones of twisted space-time that tore through Zephyrian technology like it was paper. Sir, we need to withdraw immediately. Our ship cannot sustain this kind of damage. Kethavar's mandibles clicked in frustration and fear. In over 50 cycles of military service, he had never encountered weapons that could bypass Zephyrian shielding so easily. Signal the fleet, all vessels focus fire on the human ship. Concentrated barrage, maximum intensity. 66 remaining Zephyrian vessels opened fire simultaneously, creating a web of energy beams and plasma bolts that converged on the Indomitable's position. The firepower was incredible, enough to crack a planet's crust. But Captain Chen had been expecting this response. Chief, full power to adaptive shields. Dr. Vasquez, are you getting good sensor readings on their weapons? Yes, Captain. Their energy signatures are consistent across all vessel types. Looks like they use a standardized plasma-based system with particle acceleration components. Perfect. Lieutenant Yu, broadcast this on all frequencies. Zephyrian vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Confederation ship Indomitable. We come seeking an end to hostilities between our peoples. Cease fire immediately and prepare to receive diplomatic communications. The alien barrage struck the Indomitable's shields, and for a moment it seemed like the human ship might be overwhelmed. Energy discharges crawled across the adaptive barrier system as the shields absorbed and redistributed the incoming fire. Then the shields began to glow brighter. Captain, Webb announced with barely contained excitement. Shield efficiency is increasing. The adaptive matrix is learning to convert their plasma energy into additional power for our systems. Sarah nodded grimly. This was humanity's edge, not just superior firepower, but superior adaptability. Human technology was designed to learn, evolve, and turn enemy strengths against them. Return fire. All weapons, concentrated barrage on the nearest enemy cruiser. The Indomitable's particle beam arrays opened fire, each beam precisely calibrated based on the sensor data they'd gathered from the alien fleet. Where Zephyrian weapons had failed to penetrate human shields, human weapons cut through alien defenses like laser cutters through tissue paper. The targeted cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash, debris scattering across space as its power core overloaded. Sir, the Zephyrian tactical officer reported to Admiral Kethavar. We've lost the Shenadar. Their weapons appear to be specifically tuned to exploit weaknesses in our shield harmonics. Kethavar watched as 2 more of his ships were destroyed, in quick succession, each one falling to precisely targeted human weapons fire. These Terrans weren't just technologically superior, they were learning from each exchange, adapting their tactics in real time. Open a channel to the human ship, he ordered reluctantly. On the Indomitable's bridge, Lieutenant Yu looked up from her console. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the alien command ship. On screen. The main view screen flickered, then displayed the image of Admiral Kethavar. His four-armed form and insectoid features were alien, but his expression was unmistakably one of a military officer facing a superior force. I am Admiral Kethavar of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy, he said, his words translated by the ship's linguistic computers. You have demonstrated superior tactical capabilities. What are your terms? Captain Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and commanding. "Admiral, I am Captain Sarah Chen. My terms are simple. Immediate cessation of all attacks on human colonies and civilian populations, withdrawal of Zephyrian forces from human space, and the establishment of formal diplomatic relations between our peoples. And if we refuse," Sarah's expression hardened, "then we will systematically destroy every military installation in this system, disable your orbital defenses, and broadcast our technology specifications to every species you've conquered or threatened. Your empire will face rebellion from within and invasion from without." It was a bluff, but a calculated one. Dr. Vasquez had been monitoring alien communications during the battle, and her analysis suggested the Zephyrian Empire was not as stable as it appeared. Kethvar's 4 eyes widened. "You would destabilize the entire sector. We would ensure that aggressive expansion has consequences," Sarah replied. "The choice is yours, Admiral. Peace, or the end of your empire." But before Kethvar could respond, warning alarms began sounding, on both ships. "Captain," Webb called out urgently. "Massive energy signature detected at the edge of the system. Something big is coming through hyperspace." Dr. Vasquez checked her sensors, her face pale. "Captain, that energy signature, it's not Zephyrian, it's something else entirely." On the Zephyrian command ship, a communications officer was frantically working his console. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority alert from Deep Space Monitor Station 7. A Devrak war fleet has entered the system." The color drained from Kethvar's alien features. The Devrak were the Zephyrian Empire's ancient enemies, a machine intelligence that had been systematically consuming organic civilizations for millennia. If they were here, it meant they had detected the signs of advanced technology and come to investigate. "Human captain," Kethvar said urgently, "we have a far greater problem than our conflict. The Devrak have arrived, and they will not distinguish between your people and mine. They will attempt to harvest all organic life in this system." Sarah looked at Dr. Vasquez, who was rapidly analyzing the incoming sensor data. "Doctor?" 12 vessels, Captain. Massive ones. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases, but the quantum resonance patterns suggest incredibly advanced artificial intelligence. Through the view screen, they could see the Devrak fleet approaching, ships that looked like geometric nightmares, all angles and mathematical precision, radiating an aura of cold, mechanical death. "Admiral," Sarah said to Kethvar, "it appears we have a common enemy. I suggest we postpone our discussion until after we deal with this threat." Kethvar's mandibles clicked in what might have been agreement or resigned amusement. "Captain Chen, I believe this is what your species would call the enemy of my enemy is my friend." "Something like that," Sarah agreed. "Can your fleet coordinate with our tactical systems?" "We can try. But Captain, you should know, no one has ever successfully fought the Devrak and survived. They are the reason the Zephyrian Empire never expanded beyond this sector." Sarah allowed, herself a grim smile. "Admiral, you've never seen what humans can do when we're properly motivated." Becomer Chapter 3. When Titans clash, the Devrak war fleet approached with the inexorable certainty of a force of nature. 12 massive geometric constructs, each one larger than the biggest Zephyrian dreadnought, moving in perfect mathematical formation. No energy waste, no unnecessary communication, just the cold efficiency of artificial minds that had been optimized for warfare over millions of years. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching as the combined human Zephyrian fleet prepared for what might be the most desperate battle any of them had ever fought. The irony wasn't lost on her. An hour ago, she'd been ready to destroy the alien fleet. Now they were allies against an even greater threat. "Tactical analysis, Dr. Vasquez," she ordered. The xenobiologist had transferred her expertise from studying alien biology to analyzing alien technology. "Captain, the Devrak ships are using some form of quantum coherence field that makes them incredibly difficult to target precisely. Our weapons locks keep fluctuating. Additionally, their hull composition appears to be self-repairing at the molecular level. Chief Patterson, can we adapt?" The engineering officer was already working on modifications to their targeting systems. Maybe, Captain, but it'll take time we might not have. These machine bastards are moving fast. Admiral Kethvar's image appeared on the secondary view screen, his forearms gesturing urgently. Captain Chen, my fleet is taking defensive positions around the inner planets. The Devrak will attempt to establish harvesting operations on any world with significant organic populations. What exactly do they harvest? Sarah asked, though she suspected she didn't want to know the answer. Everything. Organic matter, metals, energy, information. They process entire civilizations into raw materials for their expansion. In 3 cycles, they consumed the Altanian Empire, 47 worlds, 60 billion sentient beings. Lieutenant Commander Webb looked up from his tactical station. Captain, the lead Devrak vessel is powering up some kind of weapon system. Energy signature is off the charts. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Sarah ordered. The Devrak flagship, a nightmarish fusion of crystalline structures and metallic angles that hurt to look at directly, unleashed a beam of pure, coherent energy that lanced across space. The beam struck a Zephyrian cruiser that had been too slow to evade, and the ship simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, erased from reality as if it had never been built. Jesus Christ, Webb muttered. What the hell was that? Dr. Vasquez was frantically analyzing sensor data. Some kind of entropy weapon. It accelerates the decay of matter at the quantum level. Nothing we know of can defend against it. There has to be a way, Sarah said firmly. No weapon is perfect. Chief, can we modify our adaptive shields? Patterson was already running calculations. Maybe. If we can create enough quantum interference, we might be able to disrupt their targeting systems. But it would require us to get close. Really close. How close? Close enough that if it doesn't work, we'll be the next target for that. Entropy beam. Sarah considered this for exactly 3 seconds. Do it. Admiral Kethvar, can your fleet provide covering fire? We will do what we can, Captain, but our weapons have little effect on Devrak shielding. Then we'll have to make this count. The Indomitable accelerated toward the Devrak fleet, its engines pushing the massive ship to velocities that strained even advanced human engineering. Around them, Zephyrian vessels provided what covering fire they could, their plasma weapons, creating brilliant displays against the geometric alien ships, beautiful and utterly ineffective. Chief, quantum interference field ready? Sarah called. As ready as it's going to be, Captain. Initiating field generation in 3, 2, 1. Now. Space around the Indomitable began to shimmer as the ship's modified systems created localized distortions in quantum foam, the underlying structure of reality itself. It was incredibly dangerous. If the field collapsed unexpectedly, it could tear the ship apart at the subatomic level. But it worked. The Devrak ships suddenly began firing, wildly, their perfect targeting systems confused by the quantum static surrounding the human vessel. Energy beams that should have erased the Indomitable from existence instead passed harmlessly through distorted spacetime. Target the lead ship, Sarah ordered. All weapons, maximum intensity. The Indomitable unleashed everything it had. Quantum, torpedoes, particle beams, kinetic projectiles, and even experimental weapons that existed more in theory than practice. The combined barrage struck the Devrak flagship, and for the first time since the battle began, one of the machine ships showed signs of damage. Its perfect geometric form developed stress fractures, sparks of alien energy bleeding from wounded systems. But the victory was short-lived. The other 11 Devrak vessels adjusted their targeting algorithms and began firing in calculated patterns, using probability mathematics to predict where the Indomitable would be, despite the quantum interference. One of the entropy beams grazed. The human ship's port side and an entire section of hull simply vanished, taking 30 crew members with it. Hull breach on decks 12 through 14, Webb reported. Sealing bulkheads. Captain, Dr. Vasquez called out, I'm detecting something unusual. The Devrak ships are communicating with each other using quantum entanglement, but there's a central coordination node. If we could disrupt that node, the entire fleet would lose coordination, Sarah finished. Where is it? The damaged flagship. The quantum entanglement hub is in what appears to be their central processing core. Sarah looked at the tactical display, calculating odds and possibilities. The Devrak flagship was wounded but still incredibly dangerous. Getting close enough to target its central core would require running a gauntlet of entropy weapons that could erase them from existence. But it was their only chance. All remaining ships, this is Captain Chen. We're going to make a run at their flagship. I need every vessel to coordinate firing patterns, create as much quantum interference as possible. We're going to punch through their defenses and hit their central processor. Admiral Kethvar's response came immediately. Captain, that's suicide. No ship can survive that close to 11 Devrak vessels. Maybe not, Sarah agreed. But we're going to try anyway. Chief Patterson, how much power can we divert to forward shields? Enough to maybe survive one direct hit from an entropy beam, maybe. That'll have to be enough. Lieutenant Yu, open a channel to all crew sections. Channel open, Captain. All hands. This is the captain. In approximately 10 minutes, we're going to attempt something that has never been tried before. A direct assault on a Devrak command vessel. Our chances of survival are minimal. But if we succeed, we might save not just this system but potentially countless others that would fall to Devrak expansion. Today, we're not just fighting for humanity or for our new Zephyrian allies. We're fighting for the principle that organic life has the right to exist in this universe. I'm proud to serve with all of you. She closed the channel and turned to her bridge crew. Well, people, let's make history. The combined human Zephyrian fleet charged toward the Devrak formation, every ship firing continuously to create maximum quantum interference. The machine vessels responded with mathematical precision, their entropy weapons carving through space with deadly accuracy. 2 Zephyrian destroyers simply ceased to exist. A human frigate that had been escorting the Indomitable vanished in a flash of accelerated decay. But the sacrifice created the opening they needed. Now, Sarah shouted. The Indomitable burst through the Devrak defensive perimeter, its quantum torpedoes locked onto the flagship's central processing core. The ship shuddered as entropy beams grazed its hull, but Chief Patterson's modifications held. Firing all weapons, the quantum torpedoes struck the Devrak flagship's core, just as the ship's entropy cannon powered up for a point-blank shot at the Indomitable. For one frozen moment, time itself seemed to pause as 2 incompatible technologies, human quantum, manipulation and Devrak entropy, acceleration, interacted at the fundamental level of reality. Then everything exploded. Chapter 4. The Price of Victory. The explosion that resulted from the collision of human quantum technology and Devrak. Entropy manipulation wasn't just destructive, it was reality-altering. Space-time twisted and folded around the impact point, creating a temporary rift in the fabric of the universe itself. Captain Chen found herself thrown against her command chair as the Indomitable tumbled through the shockwave, emergency lights flickering as power systems struggled to compensate for the massive gravitational distortions washing over the ship. "Damage report," she called out once the shaking stopped. Lieutenant Commander Webb, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead, checked his tactical displays. "Captain, the Devrak flagship is gone, not destroyed, gone, like it never existed. The quantum explosion seems to have erased it from this timeline entirely." "And the other Devrak ships?" "They're acting strangely. Without their central coordination node, they seem to be reverting to individual decision-making protocols. Some are retreating, others are just floating dead in space." Dr. Vasquez was frantically analyzing sensor data despite a clearly dislocated shoulder. "Captain, the quantum detonation created a localized temporal anomaly. The remaining Devrak vessels are experiencing chronological displacement. They're receiving commands from a coordination node that no longer exists in our timeline." Chief Patterson limped over to his engineering station, his cybernetic arm sparking from electrical damage. "Captain, we've got problems. The quantum explosion damaged our Armstrong drive. We're stuck in normal space until I can repair the exotic matter containment system." Sarah nodded grimly. They'd won the battle, but at a significant cost. Around them, the combined human Zephyrian fleet was in similar condition, victorious but battered, having faced an enemy that had terrified the galaxy for millennia. "Communications with Admiral Kethvar," she ordered. The Zephyrian admiral appeared, on screen, his image flickering due to interference from the temporal anomaly. His command ship showed significant battle damage, but he was alive and apparently uninjured. "Captain Chen," he said, his forearms spread in what Sarah was beginning to recognize as a gesture of respect. "What your people accomplished today, it should not have been possible. The Devrak have been unstoppable for 1,000 cycles." "We had help," Sarah replied diplomatically. "Your fleet's covering fire made our assault possible." "Perhaps. But it was human ingenuity that found a way to disrupt their coordination network. You thought of something that never occurred to any of our strategists." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her sensor readings. "Captain Admiral, I'm detecting something you both need to see. The temporal anomaly is expanding." The main view screen shifted to show a growing distortion in space-time, like a vast invisible lens bending light and matter around its edges. As they watched, one of the disabled Devrak ships drifted too close to the anomaly and simply faded from existence. "It's creating a causality loop," Vasquez explained. "Matter that enters the anomaly is being sent backward in time. But since the past has already been altered by our destruction of the Devrak coordination node, the matter can't return to our timeline. It's permanently displaced." "How long until it stabilizes?" Sarah asked. "Unknown. It could collapse in hours, or it could continue expanding until it consumes the entire system." Admiral Kethvar leaned forward in his command chair. "Captain, my scientists are detecting similar readings. This anomaly could threaten every world in the system." Sarah made a decision that would have shocked her an hour earlier. "Admiral, do your people have any technology that might help stabilize the temporal distortion?" "Perhaps. Our quantum resonance generators might be able to create a stabilization field, but we would need to coordinate with your ship's systems. The level of technological integration required would require complete trust between our peoples." Sarah finished. "Admiral, I'm prepared to share our quantum torpedo specifications with your scientists if you're willing to share your resonance generation technology with ours." The implications of this offer weren't lost on either of them. They were discussing sharing military secrets between species that had been at war just hours earlier. Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. Then his mandibles clicked in what Sarah was learning indicated deep thought. "Captain Chen, if we do this, there can be no more war between our peoples. The level of technological knowledge we would share, it would make future conflict between us mutually devastating." "I know," Sarah replied. "Are you prepared for that level of trust?" "Are you?" Before Sarah could answer, Lieutenant Yu interrupted. "Captain, I'm receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." Sarah's heart sank. Earth Command had been monitoring the situation through quantum communication relays, and they'd undoubtedly seen the entire battle. The decision she was about to make would have to be ratified by civilian leadership, but she was out of time. "Put it through to my ready room." "Admiral Kethvar, I need 10 minutes to consult with my superiors. Can you begin preparations for the stabilization attempt?" "Of course, Captain. But be aware. The anomaly is expanding faster than our initial calculations predicted. We may have less time than we hoped." Sarah headed to her ready room, her mind racing through the political implications of what she was about to propose. Humanity had just made first contact with an alien civilization, fought alongside them against a common enemy, and now she was suggesting sharing advanced military technology with beings who had been trying to exterminate human colonies just that morning. The transmission from Earth was from Admiral Morrison, head of Terra Defense Command, and his expression was grim. "Captain Chen, we've been monitoring your situation. What's your assessment?" "Sir, the immediate threat has been neutralized, but we've created a temporal anomaly that could threaten the entire system. I believe the only solution is technological. Cooperation with the Zephyrian Empire. Captain, are you suggesting we share classified military technology with aliens who were attacking our colonies yesterday?" "Yes, sir, I am. And I'm further suggesting that we use this crisis as an opportunity to establish formal diplomatic relations. Admiral Kethvar has shown himself to be an honorable military officer, and his people fought bravely against the Devrak threat. Morrison was quiet for several seconds. Captain, you're asking me to approve a complete reversal of our contact protocols based on a single battle. Sir, with respect, this isn't a single battle. This is first contact with an alien civilization, and we have the opportunity to begin that relationship as allies rather than enemies. The Devrak threat is real. They've been consuming entire civilizations for millennia. Humanity is going to need allies if we're going to survive in this galaxy. And you trust these Zephyrians? Sarah thought about Admiral Kethvar's willingness to coordinate with human forces, his obvious concern for the civilian populations threatened by the temporal anomaly, and his honest assessment of the risks they all faced. Yes, sir. I do. Morrison nodded slowly. Very well, Captain. You have authorization to proceed with technological cooperation, but I want a full diplomatic team dispatched to your location as soon as possible. And Captain? Yes, sir. Good work. All of it. Sarah returned to the bridge to find her crew, working frantically to prepare their quantum systems for integration with Zephyrian technology. Dr. Vasquez had been transferred to sickbay for treatment of her injuries, but she was still coordinating the scientific effort via communicator. Admiral Kethvar, Sarah announced. Earth Command has authorized full technological cooperation. Let's save this system. Epilogue. New Horizons. 6 months later, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the observation lounge of the newly constructed Nexus Station, watching as human and Zephyrian engineering teams put the finishing touches on the temporal stabilization array. The massive structure stretched across space like a technological cathedral, its human quantum generators seamlessly integrated with Zephyrian resonance crystals. The temporal anomaly had been successfully contained and converted into a controlled research facility, humanity's first venture into practical time manipulation technology. It had taken the combined scientific knowledge of both species to achieve what neither could have accomplished alone. Quite a view, Admiral Kethvar said, joining her at the observation window. His English had improved considerably over the past months, aided by neural interface technology that allowed rapid language acquisition. It is, Sarah agreed. Hard to believe this all started with us trying to kill each other. Kethvar's mandibles clicked in what she now knew was amusement. Perhaps that was the point. Both of our species are warriors by nature. It took a greater enemy to make us realize we were stronger as allies. Through the window they could see the combined fleet patrolling the system, human ships flying alongside, Zephyrian vessels, their crews training together and sharing tactical knowledge. Dr. Vasquez had established a permanent xenological research station, and the first cultural exchange programs were already showing promising results. Any word from the Deep Space Monitoring Network? Sarah asked. 3 more Devrak incursions have been detected in neighboring sectors, but now we're ready for them. The joint defense protocols you helped develop have been transmitted to every allied world. Sarah nodded. The Devrak threat hadn't disappeared, but humanity and the Zephyrian Empire were no longer facing it alone. The alliance had grown to include 7 other species that had previously been isolated and vulnerable. Captain, Kethvar said formally, I have something for you. He handed her a crystalline object that seemed to contain swirling galaxies of light within its structure. It's a memory crystal containing the complete history of the Zephyrian Empire, our failures, our successes, and our hopes for the future. It's traditionally given only to those who have earned the highest honor of our people. Sarah accepted the crystal, feeling its surprising warmth against her palm. Admiral, I'm honored. But I have to ask, what happens now? Our species have moved from enemies to allies remarkably quickly. Some would say too quickly. Kethvar turned to look out at the joint fleet operations. Captain, in my culture we have a saying. The strongest bridges are built over the deepest chasms. Perhaps. Our conflict was necessary to forge the trust we needed to face greater challenges. Speaking of greater challenges, Sarah said, Dr. Vasquez's analysis of the Devrak technology has revealed something disturbing. They're not just a single machine intelligence. They're part of a vast network that spans multiple galaxies. What we've faced so far are just scouting forces. I know, Kethvar replied grimly. Our combined intelligence services have been tracking their communication patterns. The real Devrek fleet is still out there, probably planning a coordinated assault on this entire sector. Then we'd better be ready for them. The Admiral's forearms moved in a gesture Sarah had learned indicated deep resolve. Captain, 3 days ago, the Zephyrian High Council formally voted to merge our military command structure with Earth's Defense Alliance. We're no longer just allies. We're partners in the truest sense. Sarah smiled, thinking about how much had changed since that first desperate battle. You know, Admiral, when I first encountered your fleet, I thought the greatest challenge would be defeating a superior alien force. I never imagined the hardest part would be learning to trust. Trust is indeed difficult. Kethvar agreed. But Captain, I have learned something about humans in these past months. Your species has a remarkable ability to adapt, to find solutions where none should exist, and to forge unity even with former enemies. These qualities will serve the Alliance well in the battles to come. A soft chime from the station's communication system interrupted their conversation. Lieutenant Yu's voice came through the speakers. Captain Chen, please report to the command center. We're receiving priority signals from multiple deep space monitoring stations. Sarah and Kethvar exchanged glances. Multiple simultaneous signals usually meant only one thing, a large-scale threat. They arrived at the command center to find Dr. Vasquez hunched over a holographic display showing the outer rim of charted space. Her shoulder had healed, but she now wore a Zephyrian neural interface headband that allowed her to process multiple data streams simultaneously. Captain, Admiral, she said without looking up, we're detecting massive quantum disturbances along the galactic rim. 12 separate locations all showing identical energy signatures. Devrak? Sarah asked. Much larger than anything we've encountered before. If these readings are accurate, each disturbance represents a fleet at least 10 times larger than what attacked the Nexus system. Kethvar's mandibles clicked in what Sarah now recognized as deep concern. A coordinated assault. They've been gathering their forces while we consolidated our alliance. There's more, Vasquez continued. The quantum disturbances are synchronized to activate simultaneously in 72 hours. They're planning to hit 12 major population centers across 3 sectors at the same time. Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities and probabilities. Can our joint defense fleet handle 12 simultaneous incursions? Not with conventional tactics, Kethvar admitted, but Captain, conventional tactics have never been humanity's strength. What do you propose? Sarah looked at the display showing the approaching Devrak fleets, then at the image of the joint human-Zephyrian task force preparing for deployment. 6 months ago, she'd commanded a single ship on what seemed like a desperate mission. Now, she was looking at a galactic war that would determine the fate of countless civilizations, but instead of feeling overwhelmed, she felt energized. Humanity had always done its best work when facing impossible odds. Dr. Vasquez, is the temporal research facility operational? Yes, Captain. We've successfully created stable time dilation fields and even managed some limited temporal displacement experiments. And the quantum torpedo manufacturing facility? Online and producing at maximum capacity, we now have enough quantum ordnance to equip the entire Allied fleet. Sarah turned to Kethvar. Admiral, how quickly can you mobilize the full Allied fleet? 18 hours for full deployment, but Captain, even with our combined forces, we're still outnumbered roughly 50-1. Then we'll have to even the odds. Sarah moved to the central command console and began pulling up tactical files. Dr. Vasquez, I need you to run a simulation. Can we use the temporal facility to create localized time acceleration fields around our ships? Theoretically, yes, but the power requirements would be enormous, and the temporal stress on crew members would be severe. But it would allow a single ship to effectively fight at multiple temporal positions simultaneously. Vasquez's eyes widened as she understood what Sarah was proposing. Captain, you're talking about creating temporal echoes, the same ship existing, in multiple time streams during a single battle. It's never been attempted on this scale. Because no one has ever faced this scale of threat, Sarah replied. Admiral, can Zephyrian quantum resonance technology enhance the stability of temporal fields? Kethvar was quiet for a moment, his forearms moving in complex calculations. Possibly. Our resonance crystals could provide the harmonic stabilization needed to prevent temporal cascade failures. But Captain, the risks are acceptable compared to the alternative, Sarah finished. If the Devrak succeed in their coordinated assault, they'll control enough resources to launch an expansion that could consume the entire galaxy within a standard cycle. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. They were discussing using experimental temporal technology in actual combat, risking not just their lives, but potentially the stability of space-time itself. There's something else, Vasquez said quietly. The Devrak are machine intelligences, which means they process information at incredible speeds. But temporal acceleration would give us an advantage they can't match, the ability to literally think faster than them during combat. Sarah nodded. It's not just about firepower or numbers. It's about reaction time and tactical adaptation. If we can operate in accelerated time, we can outthink them. Kethvar straightened, his expression shifting to one of grim determination. Captain Chen, the Zephyrian Empire formally commits its full resources to this endeavor. If humanity is willing to risk everything on an untested strategy, then we will stand with you. Thank you, Admiral. Sarah turned to address the assembled staff officers, human and Zephyrian alike. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored allies, we have 72 hours to prepare for the most important battle in galactic history. We're going to use technology that exists mostly in theory, coordinate forces that were enemies 6 months ago, and face an enemy that has never been defeated. She paused, looking at each face around the command center. Beings from two different worlds, united by necessity and forged into allies through shared struggle. But I've learned something important in the past months. When humans and Zephyrians work together, we don't just add our capabilities, we multiply them. We're going to show the Devrak, and anyone else who might threaten organic life in this galaxy, that some things are worth fighting for. The next 72 hours would determine whether that faith was justified, or whether it would be the last testament of two civilizations that dared to dream of a better future among the stars. As alarms began sounding throughout Nexus Station, and crews rushed to their battle stations, Captain Sarah Chen looked out at the combined fleet preparing for humanity's greatest test. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The age of galactic cooperation had begun, and it would be baptized in the fires of the most desperate battle the universe had ever seen. The end.